Hello all and welcome to another episode of the Kontakt Script Programmer. Today we're going to be looking at 4.10, which is a UI text edit, which allows us kind of like the value edit to create a text edit field, which you'll be able to type into. I haven't actually seen too many people using this kind of thing. I suppose you could use it to name particular patches and save presets and things like that, but Native Instruments kind of allows you to do that a few different ways. I'm actually working on a kind of a game inside Kontakt that I have been using this a little bit for, but that's for building, a strange sort of Zork hybrids inside Kontakt for no real reason other than interest, but it can be done, let me tell you. So the UI text field, on initialization, we declare a UI text editor, that's the whole thing. It does have an @ symbol instead of the $ symbol because we're dealing with strings. And anytime we're dealing with strings, we're using the @ symbol instead. So then we have a name for the label and we make persistent the label so that if we change it, it's always going to load up again. From there are a couple of these that are not really necessary. We'll type them in today just for fun. We set control parameter for the string to get UI ID of the label name, and then we set the control parameter text to empty. Otherwise, it would just be called add label, well, just be called label name. We set the control parameter for the label name for the font type. Font types are pretty neat. They're a nice little add-on in the new Kontakt, which we'll have one somewhere. Here we go. So for different font types, which we can change, 0 to 24, select any of the 25 factory fonts. So otherwise you get the really basic font. So you can kind of use custom fonts as well if you get font ID. For responsive buttons, switches and menus, we can use font type on pressed, off hover, on hover, so you can actually change the font or change some of the characteristics for the font when you are using some of these. So again, if you wanted to sort of make something a little bit more interesting, you could do it this way. From there, we've also got things like text alignment, but that's not actually that overly important. We're not really going to set the parameter position for these because I just don't need to for this example. From there, we're declaring a UI label. This is just to have a blank spot to put some text into. The label is not actually necessary. This is just an aesthetic thing. I'll show you with and without it to show you what it kind of looks like. And then on the UI control, whenever we touch label name, it's going to ping a message that gives us the label name that we have typed in and right at it is. So that's all this one will do. However, it's kind of neat because it allows you to start typing in, and if you want to build a Zork too, so I don't have to, you can do that. So let's jump into Kontakt and start cooking. So we're declaring a UI text editor named label name, and we're making it persistent so that we don't lose our work every time we flash it again. Again, these ones I just want to show you because they are something a little bit different, but you don't have to use these for this particular implementation of the label name. From there, we're getting the control parameter text and setting it to empty, if you can't type like me. Set control parameter strips. Nope, just needs control parameter for this one, and we're going to get UI ID of label name. Again, probably could have just made another variable, but not a big deal. We're not going to do too much work here. Font type, and we're setting the font type to 25. We can set that to anything, and we'll flick through a couple of fonts later. I'm not going to use some of the other stuff in the example just because it's just moving things around, and that's not really that necessary, considering we'll do that so much whenever you move things. Look, I've changed my name, changed my idea. Let's do it. I'll just go through and fix these. So set control for the pixels, pattern label, 66 and 2. I can hear everyone arguing with me, but this is a walkthrough. You have to do everything. So let's do everything. Get UI ID for the @label name and call it control parameter position X and set that to 73. Set control. Oh, Jesus. I'm having a rough day. Parameter for get UI ID of label name control parameter. It's because I keep changing keyboards. My keyboard at work is a slightly different size, and you get that real mental incongruence where you're trying to use slightly different sized stuff. Plus I just got a Surface to program on, and now it's wrecked even more because it's, again, just ever so slightly different. But that's all right. I persevere nonetheless. This is just something funny to sort of write in there. So what did we do wrong? What have we done wrong? Oh, yep, backwards bracket. That'll do it. Okay, so we get a blank text field here. It does say empty, but you'll notice the font is slightly different. If I actually change this font around, you can see it's got some funky stuff in each of these. 17. Yeah, so they're all very slightly different. Okay, so from there we can highlight over this because it is a text edit field. Okay, and we can write hello. We can hit enter and we see hello it is. And if we say goodbye, when we hit enter, it says goodbye it is. Okay, now I don't have to apply or do anything again. If I hit apply, you notice that it doesn't change back because we've set it persistent, so that once we've changed the label name, it doesn't change again until we say it should change. So with the declare UI label, if I actually just get rid of this, you'll see that it still works. Okay, we can still type over it. It's just that we don't have that label, so it's part of sort of using a bit of different UI trickery just to have something to type over. Although you could just load a picture or an image or anything else you wanted, so that it would do that as well. But in this case, we used a label because labels are pretty neat and we don't use them that much. So we've learned a couple of different things here. We can change the fonts around. We can change. We can use the UI text editor to grab different labels, and as a text edit field, we can use it to rename things or change all sorts of things. So I hope you learned something in this one, and I'll see you again next time.